Everybody, I'm Josh Ike. I'm a teacher at AVA, the Adult Education Virtual Academy. I teach currently an upper level form, a 4-5-6 class online. And I'm just going to talk for a very short time about clear and consistent expectations using rubrics and checklists to upfront expectations and boost self-efficacy. So you can stop sharing, Dave. I'll share now. My class uses Schoology pretty much all the time for everything that we do. And what I'm going to tell you is not anything that you can just apply to Schoology. This applies to any class, in person, online, hybrid, whatever you have. This applies to everybody. But I just wanted to show you something. Can everybody see my screen? Yes? Yeah. No? Yeah, okay, great. Yeah. So when I give any kind of activity or assignment to my students, I always attach that student score sheet to that page. And if you're in person, it's just putting a poster of it on the wall, just saying, this is the criteria that I'm going to be looking for, or we're going to be looking for when we check your work. And so this is just any run-of-the-mill, everyday assignment task. They have this criteria available to them so that they know exactly what I'm going to be looking for when they hand in their work. And this applies to written works, spoken work, reading comprehension, listening comprehension. So I just wanted to get that in. It's very helpful. But what I'm going to be talking about today is the idea of expectations and how you communicate that expectations to your students. Think back to when you were in school, right? And especially if you were in college and you showed up for class on a Friday and the professor said, okay, we're going to have a pop quiz, or we're going to have you're write an essay today, and make sure that you include all the information from chapter 17. And you think, wait a minute, chapter 17? When did he say we had to read chapter 17? What? Did I miss something? Surprise, and all of a sudden you're not prepared. In order to get our students on the growth mindset train and boost self-efficacy and engagement and persistence, we want to be very clear and upfront with our students about what we expect from them every step of the way. So something that I do is, my class is made up of different units. And every unit, the first thing a student sees in a unit is something like this, sort of the topic that we're going to be talking about, what they'll be learning. And this is all from the performance objectives from the LYRIC outlines. It's correlated to those. And then how they are going to demonstrate mastery of learning. And it's usually a project, or it could be a task or something. And I also tell them how they're going to produce that project or task. So right away, from the first moment of the unit, they know exactly what I'm going to teach them, and they know exactly how I'm going to expect them to demonstrate their learning of that material. This is not 100% in detail. It just gives them sort of a general idea of how they're going to demonstrate their mastery of learning. So from day one, they know, okay, this is what I'm going to learn this unit, and this is what I'm going to have to produce. Oh, crap, I cannot miss class this week. There's a lot of stuff I have to be here for. So that sort of boosts persistence and engagement right off the bat. And they also know exactly what we're doing, and they know exactly what I expect from them in this unit. And we haven't even started yet. And then we go through the unit, we go through all the lessons, they build those skills, they build that language. And we come to the end of the unit, and it's time for them to produce something to demonstrate that they've learned. It might be a writing project, it might be a speaking project, it might be a reading comprehension project, or a listening, whatever it is. I'm going to ask them to show that they have learned and acquired that learning. So there's always instructions, and then I always include a checklist of my expectations. Here's a checklist about what we'll be listening for. This unit, by the way, is they were going to record a speech about what they believe. So I ask questions, right? Before they record, are each of your beliefs clear? Are the quotes that you chose for each related to that belief? Do you explain how the quote is related? Blah, 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 blah. If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, well, then they should sort of figure out why not. Maybe try and do a little corrective measures, maybe ask for help. Go back, maybe look at the lessons. And once every answer is yes, they can record and they can produce that product. What I do is I create a specific rubric for that specific task or project, and I share it with them before they actually produce. And if you look at the rubric here, just as an example, one of the criteria that I'm looking for is content, that the student communicates beliefs clearly. Well, check this out. If you go back up to the checklist, it's right there. Are each of your beliefs clear? Another thing that I'm going to be listening for, that they provide quotes that are related to each belief and provide the name of the speaker. Well, if you go back up to the checklist, it's right there. My point is, everything on my rubric that I'll be checking, or sometimes the students will be checking, is exactly what's on the checklist. No surprises, no additional stuff thrown in that they didn't know about. It is exactly what I asked them to check before they actually do the task or the project. And how this helps is that the student knows exactly what's expected of them. They know that I'm not going to be checking for anything that we haven't talked about. And it sort of gives them a confidence to go ahead and produce that, or to get help if they need help with these criteria. And hopefully that allows the students to be able to gauge their progress a little bit more easily, because now they know, well, if the answer is yes to all of these, I am making progress. If the answer is no, maybe I need to get some help. And it clears the air of any questions or any mystery. And I find it very, very helpful to do this. Now, if you're an in-person class and you don't use Schoology, well, you could just make a Word document and project it on your screen, or you can write it on your whiteboard and leave it there for the whole week. And I find that when I do this, engagement goes up, grades go up, because they know exactly what I'm going to be looking for and what they're supposed to do. And learning gets boosted too, because we're not throwing everything into the bucket. You can see from this list that I'm just saying good grammar. I'm not saying perfect grammar. So they don't have to worry about mistakes. I'm just saying, are you speaking clearly? Can we understand you? I'm not saying that your diction is perfect. So they have an idea of what we're looking for, and it tends to help a lot.
Okay. Well, guys, I'm old school, way old school. So I looked at those expectations and I made a little picture for my students. You see it on the right. Um, Content, I put a number with it. I said it's about 40% of your score. Then comprehensibility. And we have fun trying to say the word comprehensibility because I've been teaching level 1 and 1B, and that's a big word for us. But I keep saying comprende, comprende. See, it's like comprende, understand. Okay. Well, that's about 40% of your grade. And then look at the little piece of the pie, the little bitty one. That's 20% of the grade. Accuracy. And then once I show them the picture, then I really go to what's below the picture. So you see, I just, put it on my projection stand and we talk through it. Dave, if you can show the second one, I think that's going to show me the actual artwork only. Nope. Go one more.
I put them both together on that one slide. I
Okay,
put the
cool.
artwork
Well,
and you're sharing it with the students
right.
on the same
Okay.
one.
Well, then let's go back to that and if you guys, if
Whoops.
you're on a piece of equipment so that you can squeeze and you can really look at the bottom of it, that's where I explain what content means. And I explain what to look for comprehensibility and what to look for accuracy. And we talk about them. Then after we talk about them and we play with saying the words, then we have some writing to do. I demonstrate probably about, I'd say 10 examples myself right on the board. And the first 5 of them, I write them correctly. And then I'll write 3 to 5 of them where I make some mistakes. And I ask the students to show me the mistakes. And after they show me those mistakes, we measure, well, did I follow the direction? You know, is this a sentence? And they'll tell me yes or no. And do you see the correct word order? Did I give the correct information? Did I write a sentence or did I just write one word? So we use this as sort of a checklist, you could say. And then they tell me, well, did I do it well enough to get 40%? You know, did I fulfill the need? And they get quite competitive, I must tell you, when I'm grading when they're grading their work, you know, they will give themselves 97.5%, you know, periods will count off. They are quite adamant about getting it right. But we do that from the very beginning of the class. I teach them the things they need to do for accuracy, as well as following those directions and making their writing comprehensible. After about a month of, did everybody remember the periods? Did everybody put capital letters and doing a dance when I find these things in their writing? Yes, I am crazy, but I keep myself entertained and they laugh too. Then I give them this document you see now. These are tips that I say good writers need to do. Now, all of this has to do with accuracy, but that's the part that they can check really quite quickly by just, sometimes I have them look at their neighbor's paper and I say, did your neighbor start every sentence with a capital letter? Thumbs up, thumbs down. And did your neighbor use a period at the end of their sentences? Thumbs up, thumbs down. So we do a quick check like that. And that way they get used to looking for those things, not only in their neighbor's writing, but also in their writing. And Dave, can you go to the next part? The next slide? Okay. So after we do that writing and we start checking the writing, then I have them pair up because I've done all the modeling. So now I have them pair up and I use the mini whiteboards that we keep getting whenever, well, we haven't had any of those workshops together for a long time, but we used to get them, packs of 10 of them. And I have them work with a partner and I project a picture, usually the opening picture from Ventures, and I ask them to write sentences. This night, when these 2 ladies did their writing, we were using prepositions of place, and we were writing about the family. There's sort of a cutaway shot, and you see the family. The 2 kids are in 2 separate bedrooms doing their thing. Mom and grandpa are in the kitchen. Grandma and dad are in the living room, and they have to write sentences using prepositions of location and family words. And I have them do the writing. And then after they do the writing, then I take all the boards and we put them on the projector and we correct the writing. And when people look at the corrections and the number of corrections, then they rate each other. And if you get 80 or more points, then you get a big happy face on your board and everybody salutes you. And then this time we took pictures, and I'm going to put those on the board because the accreditation people are coming. So that's what we've been doing in my room. But I've got one more slide, maybe. Did you get that one I sent you today, Dave? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we're doing EL Civics work safety right now. So literally this morning, what I did was I worked with the group and the whole class, and we answered the first 4 questions. Then I asked the students to work individually and answer the last 4 questions, and then had volunteers put answers on the board. After I had my answers on the board, then I showed that apple pie again, and I had the class rate the answers that were written on the board. And that way I was able to reinforce having the students assess their own work while doing an EL Civics lesson that we had to do. So I was able to get more bang for my buck. Me personally, I often feel when I come to the workshops, oh God, I got to do one more thing. I don't think I can do one more thing. So what I try to do is to integrate this assessment piece into regular lessons. And I don't try to assess a whole big writing assignment. Someplace between 4 and 10 questions. That's all we try to assess as a group, because it's overwhelming otherwise. And I want them to see quickly how well they're doing. So it worked really well, and they're doing some mighty good writing, and I'm quite proud of them, I gotta say. So that's just what I wanted to share today.
One of the things that we have in literacy that we have in our course outline is routines. And it's one of the things that helps me with persistence. The students know what we're doing every day. There is a schedule on the board, and I think that makes a big difference with what Dave is trying to accomplish today, students knowing what is expected of them since the first day. Next slide, please.
Just a second. All right.
So it is possible, as Ina and Josh mentioned, to do this. Students like it, and even literacy students. So how are we going to do it? And I think that the instructor is very important, just like Ina presented and Josh with a lot of enthusiasm and cheers. It's contagious. If you present something that you really like and believe in, the students are going to get the same feeling. There is a lot of modeling involved, and I have this sticky in front of me in my computer that says, how do I know that my students are learning? I keep it there because I want to keep that in front of me all the time as I'm developing my lessons. So what do I do? How do I do the teacher modeling? And I learned this from the ABE program and from Dave. And what I do is gradual release of responsibility so that students have choices and students have a lot of repetition, a lot of examples, and a lot of opportunities. It's never just once and goodbye, we're done. They continuously have chances. And what I have done this week, we use our student score sheet on Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. So they have 3 days. And our promotional testing begins on February 16th. So we've been doing this since November. And I wanted to show you the 2 things that I use in my classroom. For the level 1 beginning low A students, I use this simplified checklist that you see on the screen. It doesn't have a lot of the criteria that the other one showed, the one that we used to give to our administrators. And I like it like this so that we just work on the skills, the content, the comprehensibility, and the accuracy. And I am the one guiding the students with the vocabulary as to what we're looking for. So I tell the students for content, did the student follow directions? Did comprehensibility, do you understand what the person is trying to say? For accuracy, do you see a capital letter? Do you see a period? Is the correct spelling? So I use only the skills. I don't want to see a lot of writing because I think that confuses my beginning low students and definitely my literacy students. So for literacy, what I do is I have a checklist, and the checklist helps me with asking the students what they can and cannot do. And if you look at them on the screen, it is very different. A literacy student on the right-hand side of your screen, I am asking, can you greet your classmates? Can you greet someone? Yes, I can, not yet. So I don't even give numbers to them. It's just a yes or a no, not yet. And the beginning of the class, we begin to learn vocabulary, not yet. What does that mean for you in your level? We can move on to the next slide. So for classroom management, again, routines are very important. You don't want to do one thing on Monday, then on Tuesday, another one, and students get confused, and then they're not interested anymore because I don't know what I'm gonna do in that class. I read a student comment once that said, you need to be drunk to come to this class when I went to observe a class. And that was really embarrassing for me to read a comment that the student gave a teacher. So I've learned from that experience. And I definitely want to give students information. Just like Josh does, I like to let them know what you're going to be doing in my class. So having a purpose, and I include the administrators, although I'm not being installed this year, I always like to think, how am I going to meet the administrators, the district's requirements? So I create a foundation with routines, with the student score sheet, so students become familiar with it, with the scoring system since the very beginning, because this is going to be something that they will be graded on for the 6 levels. So I like to use that and have the students know that it's going to be used by other instructors for their ESL journey. The student checklist and the student score sheet creates transparency. I tell the students that I am a student as well. I study opera and now I'm part of the ABE. And I know that I don't want to sit in a class where I don't know what the test is going to be about, that I don't know what the teacher expects of me. So it is very important to be transparent, and that way the students trust you and they know exactly what is happening. I tell the students, I do not give you a surprise test because I don't like surprise tests. And for you, what do you get out of doing this work? What do you get out of doing an SSS activity with your students? It helps you to know what students have learned and what they need to do. So it's not extra work. I know some instructors say, oh, I don't want to do that because it's not extra work. It's embedded in the activities that you do on a day-to-day basis. Next slide, please.
Irene, I want to just say something really quick. Sorry to break your flow. The last bullet you said, I think is really, really important. This has been my message as I've been talking with folks in PLC PDs. We've been talking a lot about learner persistence and learner self-efficacy, but you know what? We've been through a pandemic. We're busy, we're tired, we're trying to make up for all this stuff. And when we're busy and we're tired, we need to see like real results of our student growing to keep us feeling self-efficacy and having persistence. So I love what you just said right now. We need to see this so we feel like, yeah, I'm excited. I want to keep doing this. So thanks for that. Next slide.
You're welcome. So going back to the gradual release of responsibility, and I stole this from the ABE people. I'm from Dave. So I'm doing explicit instruction by doing a lot of modeling, and I'm beginning to use these words. I use the I do, and that's when I model by myself. Then I change and I tell the students, let's do the we do, which is the whole class, and we look at the sentences on the board, and we look at examples that students have provided on the board. And then I give them a task, and that's when they have to do their own sentences, and that's as individuals, or I tell them it's your turn. And I ask for volunteers in my class. Nobody's forced to do anything. I am very explicit about telling students, you want to participate, I welcome that. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's fine. Not everybody feels comfortable sharing every day. Perhaps tomorrow is going to be a good day to share. So I don't like to pressure students in any kind of way. Next slide, please. This is what I have in my classroom. And this is one activity that we did on Wednesday. And a student wrote that sentence, and someone came and decided to give points. And please go back to the picture. And just like Ina said, students become very competitive, and they said, oh, Dr. James, why don't we have a 0? I want to give this person a 0. And I said, well, the district doesn't want to give anybody a 0, so let's just concentrate with what we have here. So they decided that for content, the person wrote a sentence, they gave it a 2. For comprehensibility, there was a big debate, and the student who was doing this decided to do a 2. The accuracy, a 1, because we don't have a period, we don't really understand the spelling of the words. But again, the students wanted to just do a 0. And they have the sample there that if you have 5 points or less, it's a no pass, and then a 9 plus is a pass. And you can use this with the speaking activity as well. Next slide, please. This is the activity when it's their turn to do the work, and the students write the sentences, and then we sit down together. I do individual counseling with each student. It's a little bit challenging in the evening because I have 35 students, but it gets done. And the students have a copy of the score sheet, and I have a bunch of them on the side because we use a lot of them during the week. So a lot of copies. And I asked the students to highlight what we're looking at. And these students came and sat with me, and we looked at their sentences, and they helped me to find how many points they wanted to give to their sentences. So these 2 students sat with me. I'm in the background counseling them about their writing, and then they decided to fill out the forms there with me. So that's what they were doing. Next slide, please. And this is just a sample of what the sentence looks like when they do their work, your turn.
Away.
Yes, thanks, Dave. Okay, so yes, I'm teaching level 1 and level 2, and I am in person, and I do use Schoology. And if you remember Josh's presentation, my course kind of looks similar to that. I put all the assignments, everything on Schoology, but my course is based on Venture's book. So I've realized not so long ago that my feedback giving skills need improvement. And I decided that I'm going to start paying attention to what I'm doing, how I'm doing in the classroom. And continue? Yeah, okay, sorry about that. All right, so this is what I'm doing currently, and it is not perfect. I'm still changing things, trying new things, and discarding some things. So I'm just going to share what I'm doing. I'm giving feedback in 3 ways: informally during the class, on Schoology, and on my student progress tracker. So I'm going to show you what it is. Dave, can you go to the next one? When it is informal, you probably are already doing all of this. Hopefully, this is during the classwork. I give short praise, good job, great. I ask follow-up questions and clarifying questions about the content as the students answer their topics. I also ask questions about accuracy. Rather than just correcting straight away, I would ask them, what is missing here? Or is this a negative sentence? Or is this a question? Just so that they would find and correct themselves. I would point out an error if they cannot find it, and then I would let them try to correct it. If that doesn't work, then straightforward correction, because some things need to be corrected. So I'm not gonna dwell too much on that. You guys probably know all of this already. How do I give feedback on Schoology? So those of you who use Schoology, you know that discussions are public, and some assignments and assessments are, the feedback there is something that only the student will see, only the student that did the work. So I kind of differentiate it because it depends on what kind of feedback I give. Private feedback. This has to do with assessments and assignments on Schoology, usually writing assessments and assignments. I write comments under the student submissions, and I also use the rubric that is embedded in the assignment. Very similar how Josh embeds his rubrics, but mine is general. It's not geared for a specific assignment. Dave, can I show an example? I'm gonna have to share my screen because I don't think you have access to my Schoology.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So let me show you one. Okay, this is a writing assignment. And can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, this is a level 2 writing assignment. It's just the very beginning of the course, as we're doing this in unit 1. I have the assignment itself here. I have my example. And over here, this is the student's submission. So she follows the example. She writes her piece. I can write my feedback over here on the bottom. And usually I try to address all the 3 categories, starting with the content, comprehensibility, and accuracy. So this is one way, right? And then another way I started recently doing this is as I give them the score using the rubric, I can also put comments in for a specific category here. So it kind of lets them see what part of rubric they are getting graded on, and why is this 3, or why this would be 2, right? So you can see here. This is a comprehensibility because she wrote that Janet usually wears shorts, and that was not true. She meant to say that she's wearing shorts today. Okay, and there's some accuracy comments. So this is how this works. And another thing I want to show you is, let me go back to, okay, so this was private feedback, right? Only Myra could see this, only that student. For the speaking assessments, I use discussion boards on Schoology, and I use them because they allow all the classmates to see each other's work, to see each other's presentation. I don't do it for writing, but I do it for speaking. I kind of feel like people are less self-conscious about speaking than showing their writing to each other. So I do write my feedback comments in the discussion for everybody to see. Some of them, those would be only positive ones. I don't correct mistakes inside in the discussion. Do ask questions about the content, and that kind of gives them, lets them realize if they made themselves clear enough, right? And then I use the rubric for the speaking as well, the DACE rubric. And I give them their private feedback on their accuracy within that rubric. So let me show you how this looks. This is a level 1 speaking assignment. Let me go back back up here. So this was an alphabet and number test. It looks like it's writing, but it was necessary for them to write their name, address, phone number, and all of that personal information because I wanted them to say it later on. But how would I know if they're saying it correctly if I don't know what the real information is, right? So they first had to write it and then say and spell their first name and last name, say your address, phone number, and date of birth, pronounce the letters and numbers clearly, record a video or audio, and listen, check your pronunciation, post your comment then read and listen, oh, sorry, typo, to your classmates' comments. If you understand their pronunciation, give them a like. So I gave my example here. There is the rubric embedded here. And this, I also posted my video in the discussion, like an example. And then I wanted to show you an example of what one of the students did. So you can see my feedback here under, right, in the discussion. I'm looking for this one guy here. Let's see. Oops. And then can you hear him?
Yeah, my pet name is Cow. C E U. My pet name is Can. T L E N. My phone number 323-283-6274. My address 2333 Eastlick Avenue. My zip code 80031. 90031.
And so a big question would be, can they read that feedback? Can they see that feedback? This is important, and you have to like specifically teach them how to do this. It's not easy with the beginning levels. It's like a lot of repetition, showing them on the screen how to do it. But once they get it, it's like it's a life changer. They do it all the time. Scale, the categories, everything is identical. This is where I give them the feedback. And you see, this is not much space, so I make sure to put only the most important things that I want them to focus on to improve. You know how they say that, you know, don't correct everything, pick one thing and focus on that, one or two things. So this is what this is for, this column. And I included the CASA's scores so they can see their progress. They do one in the beginning, one in the end. So why use this? There are a lot of reasons.